Well, it has been some time. It took 4 months to get this podcast to start the next season. But I wanted to kick off the season by talking about something that has been going on for a while, and it's my thoughts on the current dating dynamic. So, dating is an interesting yet complex concept that I think I got figured out, kind of. But I am lucky personally to have found someone that I would like to spend the rest of my life with. But I do feel bad for those who are looking for the person that they want to be with because dating is hard, especially in this climate. And I think that it's best if both people, men and women, get their experience in dating instead of just not going for the first person that they see. And they're both responsible to filter out all the shitty people. There are a lot of them out there. Now, it doesn't mean that all those people are horrible. They can be very good men or women, but they're not your type, or your personalities just don't match well, or your values don't align. But I am a firm believer that everybody has their special someone on Earth. You just have to turn over a lot of rocks in order to find something worth keeping. In this episode, I will be talking about my thoughts on the current dating dynamic, what I like and don't like about it. I also interview Nina. She is back and ready to talk about her experiences with dating, what she likes and doesn't like as well. And because because I am a woman, I don't know what the dating life is like for men. So I asked David Messinger, I think that's his last name and how you pronounce it. I asked him because I wanted a guy's perspective on what the dating culture is like for him. My name is Jennifer, so let's start spilling the unfiltered tea. So, I want to welcome David to the podcast. This is his first time. So, I want you to please introduce yourself and what you do for a living.
So right now I'm actually in college. I go to UTD. I'm how we know each other is basically through Turning Point, through various connections. So I'm part of the UTD Turning Point chapter. You might have heard that recently that a couple of our officers got assaulted with a bike lock, so that was fun.
I heard about that.
Yep.
Oh my
I
God.
wasn't there. I was in class. So, but
Okay. Well,
yeah,
at least
yeah,
you're safe. I hope
yeah,
your officer, I hope the other members of the chapter are safe as well.
yeah.
Did the
They're all
tranny
good
go
now.
to
So,
jail?
sorry.
Did the tranny go to jail?
So I could get, man, they had the expulsion hearing, but I don't know any updates on that. And then, they did get arrested, but I think they got bonded out or bailed out, sorry. And then I'm trying to think, they'll eventually when, they have to go to court and everything, they will most likely go to prison. I wouldn't be surprised. So, uh, it's probably a little bit of a side topic we could go over later, or I
Okay.
could just tell you about individually. So,
All right, yeah, we could take it off. We could take it off script or off the recording if we want to talk about it more.
yeah.
Anyway, I guess for today's topic of the podcast, I wanted to talk about the dating culture. I wanted a guy's perspective as well as a girl's perspective. So, as of right now, if you guys are comfortable sharing, what's your relationship status currently?
Ladies first.
Single.
Single. I'm same. Yeah.
Actually, in a way, this kind of works because you have single girl, single guy, and then there's me who's engaged and happy. That's going to be facilitating this discussion.
Mhm.
But anyway, I just wanted to go over a couple things. Like, I guess since you guys are single, I don't know if you guys are actively looking for anybody, if you guys are taking a break, if you're participating in the horrendous hookup culture. What do you guys usually look for in a partner? I'll start with you.
Okay, so what do I look for in a partner?
Yeah.
Okay. So in general, I am for me, it would be a man of God. So I do take, for me, religion comes first. Secondly, it would be, let's say, just the common like good attributes. So for me, it's like religion and then attributes, um, and then that they would pursue me because I've had a history of like usually being the pursuer, and that now like I'm just taking my time for like knowing myself, and then like if it comes, it comes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And David, what about you? What do you look for in a woman? Or
So, um, yeah, basically, I'm like, yeah, what do I look for? Yeah, so basically someone who's kind, supportive. This might be very basic answers, but I mean, sometimes it doesn't take much for a guy, you know. So for me, I'm basically looking for someone who's kind, supportive, not just nice to be nice, you know, is will communicate and will tell me where I'm wrong, stuff like that. Uh, I think in general, it's good to look at relationships as a friendship because if you don't look at it like that and look at it like you're infatuated with the person and you just give them like any excuse, you know, then you're not gonna have a good relationship. I think you have to look at it like you're like a friendship, like for you, it'd be a friendship with another girl or me, a friendship with another guy. You have to look at it like that. Um, because you can, yeah, basically what I was saying earlier. Sorry, I don't want to like repeat myself, but you know, I'm looking for so I think off of that, it's good to look at, for example, what do I look for in a friend? Not gay, but you know, what do I look for in a friend? I look for someone who is supportive, nice, you know, someone who will tell me where I'm wrong, like I'm saying, you know, someone who's compassionate, someone who looks out for me, will communicate, someone who's there for me, you know. Um, and to be there for you, it also means they sometimes have to be against you when you do wrong, you know, stuff like that. Um, that's why I look for in a woman. Obviously, you know, I'm straight, so I would be looking for a woman. And that's kind of the same thing I'm looking for. I mean, and main thing that's like personality wise is what I'm looking for. So,
okay.
yeah.
And I guess in terms of being supportive, like a friendship type, like would you want like the woman to like take care of you, like take care of the house, any kids if you guys have any? Do you want your woman to be like that or more like I guess progressive would be the term where she like has her own job, her own independence and you respect that or would you want her to be more of like a caretaker of the home?
I mean, this might differentiate me from a lot of people in Turning Point, in conservative movements, you know, but I like someone who's like kind of an in-between. Obviously, if you're having children and if she's pregnant or whatever, I would want her to be at home and not like wear herself out being at work. Um, so there's that, but also I am fine with someone who wants to go into a job, you know, wants to do some corporate stuff, you know, maybe because I think I can give a few examples of people I have liked in the past. I'm not going to say like names, but I can give like specific examples of like there's people that like working and you know are very smart and they are very capable of going to different fields that I think I personally find kind of attractive. That might just be me, but you know, I think it's something that people need to also be open about and not just be like, oh, I want a trad wife, you know. I think you gotta be open about it in today's society. But personally for me, it's someone who's an in-between, someone who's willing to work because first of all, it's practical in today's society, but also someone who isn't going to overwork themselves to the point where they're working for another guy more than they're working for their husband, you know? So, yeah.
Okay. And then with you, Nina, I just want to ask in terms of the male species, would
Mhm.
you like a guy to be like more, I guess, more open about his emotions? You want him to be like the leading type? I know there's a lot of, well, I call some males princesses, but like, do you want him to like be a little more self-reliant or what type, like, I guess behavior wise, what do you look for?
So I think to to answer that, it's like I think there's a huge misconception of like what the masculine is because a lot of men that I've met and been with actually who are like traditionally masculine, they think that to be masculine, that they have to be closed off, they have to not be emotional. And I actually like this quote that I heard. It was like, a truly masculine man has a feminine soul, and a truly feminine woman has a masculine soul. And what it means like that is that a man who is like deeply rooted in his masculine is actually rooted in his is actually very aware of like his more feminine side. What this means is he's receptive, he's nurturing, and he knows how to be gentle whilst still being able to lead. And so the opposite can be said for a woman, is like we can still be like very gentle, nurturing, but then we're also rooted in like how to stand up for ourselves, be strong. And it's kind of that whole notion with like how women are like, of course we can open our doors, but on principle we want our men to open the doors. It's like, it's not that we can't, it's just on principle like he should do it. So I think a man, like how I would like my man is to be fundamentally masculine, which is what I describe with like he is still a leader, but he's very sensible and his feminine. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I get it. It's like you want like a guy to be like, I guess sort of like he's aware of his emotions. You don't want him to be like an emotionless, soulless little robot.
Yes.
Yeah, we
Mm-hmm.
don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
So I completely agree with what you said. Like, um, yeah, if you're gonna ask me the same question, I completely agree with that right there. So
Okay.
Glad.
I guess like another big open-ended question that I want to ask the both of you is from I guess each of your perspectives from a guy and a girl, what do you think is wrong with the dating culture? Why are so many people having problems finding the person they want to be with?
Me first.
Yeah, you can go first.
I think um in general, I think it's because of the dismantling of the nuclear family. I think that's a huge one where it became really lax on just how traditional norms would be. So that'd be a huge one. I think also the acceptance of hookup culture. I think that's a huge one why it's so hard for people to even just commit, and how that's even made people think that people who are not open to hookup culture are like more prudish. Like I've been called a prude for not being open to like dating multiple people, or like just being more reserved. So I've had that. So I'm like, damn, like I thought this was just standards. Like I thought this was bare minimum, but no, a lot of people actually think that's quite prudish. So I think nuclear destruction of nuclear family, um, the more acceptance of hookup culture. I think those are my the big ones.
And just to add on to that, do you think the hookup culture is being more encouraged by women or men in your eyes?
Ooh. I would say initially it would be okay, you know what? Initially I'll say women only because we have this spiteful like, oh, if men can do it, we could do it too. So I think it's the spiteful nature of like women wanting to get back at men. So I will say hookup culture is like out of spite for women, and also men because it's like deeply ingrained within them to have multiple partners. I don't think that's necessarily the case now. I think it's widely accepted to a degree, but yeah. So I would
Okay.
say more so women.
All right. And I guess, David, as a male's perspective, what do you think is wrong with the dating culture?
man, where do I start? So like, um, so I think I first want to start off with this before I kind of like directly answer that question, is that I think when it comes to like now specifically, there's this whole gender war thing. So anything I'm gonna say is gonna come from like my perspective as a man. Take that with always with a grain of salt, same if it comes from a woman's perspective, because we're always gonna have like very biased opinions. It's like one thing if like I was a guy and I'm telling girl like friends that were girls, more than guys. And it's if it's a girl and have a lot of, guy friends more girls, that's kind of the exception. But usually guys are gonna have a lot of guy friends and girls are gonna have a lot of girlfriends. So there's gonna be a bias there. And I think before like I answer that question, I want to address that I don't think the gender war stuff is smart. I almost got into that and I'm like, no, I shouldn't get into that. So just take everything I say with a grain of salt. And No offense to you, Nina. Same thing, like guys and girls, we got like, I think we can pick out our biases, but I think it's also good to realize that ourselves. Anyway, so what is wrong with hookup culture? Like what is how they get there, I think, man, I've been really thinking a lot about feminism lately. I'm gonna sound like so progressive just saying that sentence, but just hear me out where I'm going with it. I sound like a professor. It's like I've been thinking a lot about feminism. No, no. So I watched, if y'all know Pints with Aquinas. I'm not Catholic, but I'm Lutheran, as you can see. I got a little Lutheran. But I have Pints with Aquinas. I might get into him more because he had this person on who talked about like roots of feminism, stuff like that, first wave feminism, how the people that did it were like specifically against Christianity. And I think a lot of the stuff starts there. Now, when we talk about feminism, they brought up that there should be a different term for things like in feminism, where it's like voting rights, going to the workplace, and like making a living, stuff that just like basic to do things, and basic rights, like voting, for example. Um, I think there should be a different term for that, is what they mentioned. So when I'm saying feminism, I might have to like specifically define that. But it starts a lot there because once progressively as feminism got more radical, even though it was kind of already started off by radical people, um, it just eventually get to the sexual revolution, and that's kind of where the tipping point happens. And it's like, um, they're gonna how can I explain this? Um, they encourage hookup culture then there, and I think Nina's exactly correct on like it was this, oh, if men can do it, women can do it too. I think that's like the exact mindset, and I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to say something similar, but I just didn't know for sure. um that's kind of the whole point of that. The sexual revolution and its consequences have been a disaster for the human race and American society, so um that's kind of where that all started. Now, in terms of, I think that's really where it started, like the tipping point, like I said. So anything related to that, like whether it be like abortions, um, birth control, which I think I get birth control. There's things for medical reasons for birth control, but I like the wide use of hormonal birth control and just birth control in general. Don't know much about it, so I will say that, but I know like there's some of it, there's some problems, and some of it's used for medical stuff. But the wide use of that and birth control, abortion, birth control is like excuses for having sex, and that basically negates any responsibility. Um, and then of course you get these dating apps like Tinder, specifically Tinder, that encourages
God
stuff,
forbid we talk
like
about
it's a
gender.
game. It's a game, and there's other things that these dating apps have done where they've made standards incredibly terrible, which I noticed on your story. That was one of your questions, was
Yeah.
about, but what you'll get into, so I won't spoil that. But I think a lot of this stems from feminism and the sexual revolution, and I think there's just a lot of different things. I don't want to like go into all of them because it's probably a lot, but like my two answers to that would be basically feminism and the sexual revolution, and it's because that all progressively led up to where we are now. Not saying certain parts of it are good, and there are a lot of parts that are bad, but there's certain parts that are good. But that's where we're at now. So, that's where I say a lot of this happens. And abortion was definitely a big one as well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I know you talked about the use of birth control and that how women kind of use it as like a way to just have sex and just to not get pregnant. I feel
Mhm.
like it's a really good topic to bring up. I think in a way girls do use it to abuse pleasure, or like the use of pleasure. They want that. And I think another thing is I think birth control is a very dangerous thing, especially when it's hormonal, because I've been on the pill before. I was on it for about 11 months, maybe. And I remember that I was actually a lot more depressed. My taste in men was pretty different. And I would get acne all over my face constantly, and I was super unmotivated to do anything.
Mm.
So, and the thing is that I remember I've actually talked to more than one girl about this. There's a girl I know, she's about 17, and I think she was, her doctor put her on hormonal birth control when she was about 14 or 15. And they use it, and the doctor said it was an excuse to regulate her hormones or whatever, and make sure she doesn't have painful periods. But in reality, I think the doctors are just slowly trying to kill off women's ability to reproduce. And I don't know, I think it's a scam in a way. Birth control is a scam. And right now, I mean, I
It's
got
a money thing. That's
yeah,
really what it is.
exactly. And
Mhm.
I think actually I saw a video that Charlie Kirk did where he was debating these girls who were actually conceived out of IVF, and they're saying like the biggest money makers are the IVF people, because are you okay?
Yeah.
They use birth control as a way where it's like when women are having trouble conceiving to get pregnant, they'll go to IVF professional and get it done that way. And I think the
Mhm.
IVF people take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Um, and then I guess in terms of dating apps, I just think dating apps, you don't use it because you don't find good people on there. Just
Yeah.
saying, you don't find good people on there.
I mean, I'll give a little nuance to that is that, I mean, I've personally been on them, but I really shouldn't be on them. Little vulnerability here, but I have been on them. Haven't participated in hookup culture, but I can tell which ones are better than others. What
Yeah.
I've noticed and when I've talked to people who use them is that Hinge is probably one of the best ones comparatively to the other ones you can use. Bumble's okay, and Tinder is no.
Tinder,
So
just no. Like the amount of times that I've
yeah.
seen like people use Tinder, they're just like miserable little shit girls that will like to go around and just hook up with people. I'm not kidding.
Mhm.
The amount of thirsty ass people that are on that app is horrendous, and people that app needs to be taken down at all costs. I hate to say it. I just don't think it's a good app to find matches for. If you want a serious relationship, just don't use Tinder.
Yeah,
If
there's
you want
like
to
maybe
fool
a
around, maybe get an STD, one or two STDs, then yeah, sure, use Tinder. But like, I don't think I don't know. It's not a good idea to use. Like, apps.
yeah, it's one of the like one out of like a million billion possibilities, and you'll find someone that actually is like worth it, on Tinder. But other than that, like you said with STDs, you're just collecting them like infinity stones at that point. So, you
Yeah.
know, eh, on the birth control thing, I actually wanted to follow up. I don't watch Alex Clark a lot, but she does talk about this a lot.
Yeah.
I know one of my friends who will probably watch this a little later. Ava Kasoy, if you know her, she watches Alex Clark
I
a
don't
lot.
know.
You don't know her? Okay, well,
I don't
she's good
think I
friends
do.
like live. You might have met her or seen her if you looked at my Instagram, but
Maybe. I
you
gotta
would
look. I
recognize
gotta
her
look.
if I show you her, you'll recognize her. Anyway, she watches Alex Clark a lot. And yeah, Alex Clark obviously brings up the stuff about hormonal birth control and how and like what you were experiencing. And it sucks for some of the women that are married and on this because then they're not attracted to their guy anymore. And it's just like, I feel so bad because part of me is like, yeah, I don't feel bad, but also you've kind of been lied to, so I do feel kind of bad. I think people have to have a little more empathy towards these things, even though it can be very hard to. Um, Same thing with like abortion. It's the same exact thing. Like a lot of women have been lied to. But I tend to be a little bit more strict on that stuff, but I mean there is an empathy aspect you have to have
Yeah,
for this type of stuff.
agreed. In terms of the abortion issue, like I would say I'm definitely more pro-life than I am pro-choice. But
Mm,
the only problem I guess I have with abortion is not the fact that it like exists. I have a problem with it being like the only solution for women
mm,
to get rid of this consequence that they put themselves into. And they're not told that there's pregnancy centers that exist where they can help them with I guess like pregnancy advice, help, like what to do when giving birth, or if they want advice on how to become a mom, or advice as to how to put their child up for adoption. these women are not told that. They're just told, have an abortion, you will all your problems will go away. That's the only problem I have with the abortion thing. Like, if you have at least considered going to a pregnancy center and you still want an abortion, fine, just get it before 6 weeks. That's all I care.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm pro-life as well, but I think I going off of something you said, there people don't think there's a lot of other options. I think something I can add on to that being in Texas is that there's our foster care system's like shit. It's actual garbage. And I think maybe that's also nationwide, is it's just bad. But especially in Texas, I know someone who's gone through that system, and I won't give like specifics. They have had an abortion, but
Right.
uh for reasons. But
Okay.
they went through the foster care system, and it is not good. Uh so I think I might know a couple. I know at least one, but I might know a couple others. But it's like there are options, but sometimes they aren't the best options. That doesn't excuse abortion. But I brought this up to a couple of my friends when in Texas when the abortion ban was passed. And I'm like, I feel like okay, I get it, like politically good to ban abortion, you're gonna save a lot of babies anyway, but it's also you gotta like put in something for a better system. It's like if they did that, I actually would have like I'm fine with Abbott. I like have no problem with him necessarily, but it's like I would have like legitimately like loved him way more if he put that in. Because also I didn't like the whole thing where it's like you go snitch on your friends or something, or just bounty hunt people, which like is a legitimate thing. Like the left actually has a valid point with that. Like liberals have a valid point with that. It is not good. But that's a side point. But like I said, there needs to be systems in place, and also women can't be need to like know about systems if they're good or bad, to if they're like working or not, either way, because abortion isn't the only option.
Right.
Um and it's like and on the pro-life side, I'm more like abolitionist type. I wanted to mention that because I brought up like empathy and stuff. So it's like there's like a slight difference between like the pro-life side and the abolitionist side. Abolitionists are a little more strict on like wanting punishments not only for the doctors but for the people that get abortions. And the pro-life people are a little more empathetic towards the people that get abortions, to where it's like, oh, you shouldn't go to jail for that. Logically, I think they should, but also because there is so much information now where especially in now, at least now, after like 2025, abortion was a huge issue on the Kamala campaign. That is a large, like big topic. You should know what you want your option to be. There is like no excuse in my opinion. So like that's kind of my opinion at this point because you have the internet. But um, I just think this is something, one that is not good because we're both pretty pro-life on this, but also it's an excuse, like going back to the dating stuff, it's an excuse to just have sex, no consequence. Um, that may lead into another question you have. I just wanted to bring it back to that,
Yeah.
so
And then,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, go for it.
Segue, because
yeah,
it's a pretty deep topic, but back to dating.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
because you brought up, David, like how you've used dating apps. So, I wanted to ask you, Jenny, have you used dating apps?
Yes, I have.
What'd you use?
I use Hinge and I use Bumble. Actually, I will say the the Bumble guy, I'll just call him the Bumble guy. I don't want to throw out names
yeah.
everywhere. I'll just say, to put it short, it was kind of a successful match. Nothing really bad happened to make me like stop talking to him. It's just he worked a lot, and he couldn't make the time for me, and that was fine. But nothing bad really happened. And then on Hinge, there's one guy, and we were okay, I guess, but like the problem was he didn't want anything serious. And when I found that out, I was just like, okay, bye.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, you know what? I need to like not use these dating apps.
Mhm.
It's good if you want to go on dates and you want to figure out what you like and everything like that. Like if you're still trying to figure out like what you want in a guy or a girl, I recommend, like, I guess, using dating apps to try to figure out what you like, what standards you want. But in terms of like something like super serious, like marriage and spending the rest of your life with someone, just don't use dating apps. Just meet your significant other in person.
Yeah.
She did.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait, when did you get engaged? Just side note.
I
Like,
got engaged back in October. October 9th, I believe, was the date.
nice, nice. Congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah, setting
Actually,
up the wedding and everything.
he's right
Like,
here, but he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to. He's not part of the podcast. He just wants.
oh, is he literally right there?
Yeah, he's just right there.
Okay, hi. I was
You
just
can't hear
curious.
it. He's listening to. He's watching Harry Potter clips on
Oh,
YouTube.
okay. Tell him I said hi. I don't know him, but you can tell him I said hi. Yeah, I know, side note, I know so many, I've gone to like so many weddings. I'm part of a Christian community, like ministry, and it's like, how many weddings am I going to? Like, it's just like, like I know two people so far. Who I'm like, I mess around with them because they've been together for at least a year or 2 years almost, depends on the person. And I'm like, just get engaged already. Like, just do it. My other friends have, do it, you know. And so I'm like pressuring them to get it done already, you know. So,
Yeah. So,
but
like, I guess my next question is, how long would you guys give it? Like, the minute you start,
Hmm.
the minute you start dating, and then how long should you wait to get engaged?
Oh man,
Nina, go
Okay.
first.
you want to go first, Nina? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, I would like to be friends with them first. Like ideally like 5 months to a year. So it's like I would have been friends with them and I would want them to be elevated to like that best friend level. So like we click like that. And then I'd be more keen to like and being engaged like after a year of dating. Like a year of dating, that's when I'll be like open to it. So for me, it would be personally like after a year of like officially dating, with the context that I would have been best friends with this man prior. So that's mine.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. How long?
So for me, probably about 2 years personally.
That's recent.
But yeah, because a lot of my friends have been doing at least 2 years. Now, I have a couple examples that are a little outliers.
Okay.
So like I said, I'm part of a Christian ministry. Gonna do a little tag them a little bit. Focus, not the Catholic Focus. They're a interdenominational, so like non-denom contemporary. Um, but they have a lot of people. So let me explain. So there's one guy. Most of the people it takes about 2 years. However, there's one guy who I won't name, but I knew both of them. I'm friends with both of them. And theirs was 9 months. So we like would joke with we joked with one guy who was in a relationship. It's like, are you and this person on I'll just say his name. Josh was one of the guys. Are you on Josh's timeline? So we'd like joke with him and be like, all right, are you 9 months? Is it gonna be 9 months or 2 years? You know? So
Or
um
waiting a whole pregnancy or 2 years.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's that example, and then the bounce off what Nina said. So there's one girl I was interested in. She's seeing someone right now, from what I know. So big rip. But she said like, yeah, I'd want to be friends with someone for like 3 months, for example, before I like started wanting to date them or anything. So it's definitely something that you can do. I don't think there's anything bad in it. I will say one thing is that sometimes this is more on the asking out side of things, but sometimes for us guys, it's not worth it to like be friends with the person first if we're like especially interested in them because for like friends and then it takes like I don't know 6 months for example us being friends with them we ask them out we get friend zoned it's not really worth it but I will say either way I think it's good to be friends with the other sex I don't think there's really a problem with it but from a guy's perspective like logically it wouldn't there is the unless the girl specifically says I want to be friends first like just drops that as like a hint or something like I'd be friends with someone for like 3 months I don't want to like wait 6 months and if especially if they haven't said they wanted to be friends for that long for dating and then get friend zone. Obviously sometimes it's just like we should just go ask them out. Doesn't mean you can't still be friends with them afterwards, but I think it's just sometimes good for us guys. Like it makes sense just to go ask them out, you know, get it over with, not infatuate over them and obsess, especially if you're prone to that for 6 months. It's not healthy. Trust me. So, um, yeah, that's kind of where I was at. And also, I side note, I think it's okay to be friends with the other sex. I don't think there's any problem with that.
Okay.
So, But yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of where I was at.
I know a lot of people will find it like a red flag. Like, let's say if like a guy has like a girl best friend, but they're just platonic, they're not messing around or doing anything. Sometimes it could be a very big turnoff. And
Mm,
well, it's good to say that you will respect it if like let's say your future girlfriend has like a guy friend. Because
mm.
with me, I have a lot of guy friends more than girlfriends, mainly because I can't really tolerate the female species that well. Because I
I
don't
mean,
know. It's because I don't know. It's something about girls that I just can't stand. Like they're too whiny, they're too emotional, they complain about small things,
Mm.
they overthink a way, 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 way too much about things. And then I don't know. I just like girls who are more like grounded, they're self-confident, they don't really deal with too much self-esteem issues, I guess.
I will say you're from California, right?
Yes.
That might be why. I don't know, maybe.
I'd like to add on to what you
Yeah.
said.
What's up?
Yeah.
So similar to you, like yeah, I would say even I'm not gonna say her name, but she also finds it hard to like be friends with like girls. Like we're very similar.
Mm.
Like where it's typical like we get along with like guys more. And I think it's like it's a personality thing, but of course like when Jenny was describing that image of like oh like girls are like whiny and stuff like that. That's like the few some girls, right? But otherwise we can get along with girls like us, obviously. But I think it definitely has to do with like emotional intelligence, a lot of things like that. So like Jenny and I we're good friends.
Yeah.
And but definitely like particular because over the years like Jenny has like had a lot of like issues with the what do you call them? The female species.
Yes.
Yeah. And so like definitely growing up like same. So it's like we gravitate more towards that more grounded and like it's easier.
Yeah.
I'm doing quotations with guys, but I think for me, I want to speak on me personally. I've grown it to be like after dealing with like my own things, it's like easier now to communicate with girls and how to like deal with females. Because at first, like Jenny says, it's like it's too much. But then the more that you I deal with my things or the more that I'm like becoming more grounded, it's like I can hold space for girls who are erratic, we would say, and then you can like form really strong female friendships like ours.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I have heard like the same thing from at least one of my friends who's a girl. That it's like the same thing. And I think the reason I said I was making a joke, oh, it's from California, is because I think of like the city girls there that are like really fake, like Hollywood girls, like very incredibly fake.
Definitely
Um,
not from Hollywood, so
yeah, I know. I'm saying it's the stereotype. I was joking. I'm not saying every girl from California is like that.
yeah.
So trust me, Texas, there's definitely fake women,
Okay.
they're just like not the greatest. But it's fake men too.
I wanted to go over a couple things because I know like back sometime back in like 2023 when I was originally going to do this episode and now I'm waiting till now to do it. I did want to look at the prompts that I did over Instagram. I know I did something like qualities that you look for in a partner. I know, David, a long time ago, you said communicates clearly in the relationship, logical and supportive, not overly emotional, not naggy, kind, Christian, moderately conservative. Do you still have those? And has anything changed?
I mean, some of those are like very like just me thing. But yeah, a lot of those are the same, I would say. And when I say moderately conservative, I mean they don't have to be moderately conservative. They could be like really conservative, but as long as they're grounded and not like, super radical, I'm fine with that. Like I'm like a conservative libertarian, so I'm like pretty moderate on some conservative stuff.
Okay, so same here.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like you know, have your own, but if you can think for yourself, I'm fine. Now, I don't think I'd get along with someone who's liberal that well
Yeah.
in that type of relationship. There's people that do it like legitimately and they have a great relationship. They just don't talk about that stuff because they don't want to fight about it. And that is what it is. But a lot of that stuff should be the same
Okay.
from what you read off. So
Question. When you say not overly emotional, what do you mean? Like,
Like girls
so
cry about everything.
what I how I kind of mean that it's like I don't want them to, yeah, basically cry over every single thing. And I feel like part of being, when I say overly emotional, I mean someone who's like really immature emotionally. And I don't like that. She wouldn't like that if I was like that. That's kind of what it comes down to. So when I say overly emotional, I kind of just maybe the better way to put it is immature emotionally.
Okay.
Okay. Emotionally immature.
Yeah,
That's
that
Yeah.
that sounds better. It sounds reasonable. Yeah. I'm gonna read out some other people whatever other answers people have given. Sorry, speech impediment kicking in. Um we got loyalty being another one. Um Funny, have same goals as me, respectful, enthusiastic. Is he funny?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting
Okay.
that the girl always wants the guy to be funny.
I'm thinking of like, is it Pete Davidson? Is that the guy? You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Pete Davidson. He's like that ugly tall guy that somehow I heard according to Ariana Grande, he has like a 10-inch dick, but and has the big dick energy. But
Yeah.
other than that, I don't find Pete Davidson in any way attractive. But maybe it's also because he's white. I don't like white guys whatsoever.
Oh wow.
Complete
Wow.
sorry, no offense to you, David, but completely
You're engaged. I'm not trying to hit on you. Like, come on.
completely traumatized by white men. But
Uh,
but yeah, let's see. Communication is top key for
yep.
me, just as much as a believer in Christ. Trust comes with time. Same beliefs, intelligence, honesty, loyalty. You said a long time ago, agreeableness and openness is a big one, willing to change.
Yeah.
So
Those are good answers. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that one's
Someone
fun.
also said a religious person. Another guy said same set of values. Someone said hard worker. Someone who has similar personalities, open to new ideas and experiences. Another I'm seeing a lot of things here regarding to religion, goals and stuff. This one's funny. A woman that won't turn my future daughter into hoes.
Fair enough.
I feel like he's running the woman like that. Uh, which I mean, he's not wrong, but a very personal answer like that means that something like that probably happened.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm not going to ask him. But anyway,
Yeah.
another thing is, would you date someone who has opposing values? Yes or no?
Oh man. Like I said, I think there's a point where the opposing values don't mix well, you know? So like if someone was really liberal, probably not, no, not, I don't think it's worth it.
Bless you.
Uh,
Thank you.
some people make that work, like I said, but not me. I think you can have different opinions on certain issues and it's fine. Uh, you know, so we both don't know everything, and that's just in general. So one person doesn't know everything, unless it's like God, I guess. But other than that, none of us know everything.
Okay.
So we need to like bounce stuff off each other.
Right. And what were you going to say?
Yes. So my like values, like fundamental values, like the home, religion, like stuff like that. So yeah, it'd be a no for me. As David said, like that works for some people, but for me, we need to fundamentally mesh because once your core values are in slot, then we can get like the quirks out of the way. Like we don't like for me, I don't have to have the same like hobbies as someone. It's just as long as the values mesh, we're cool.
Okay. And then another thing was, oh boy, on a scale of 1 to 10, how high are your standards when looking for a partner? 1 to 4, 5 to 7, 8 to 10, I guess. Is 8, 10 being really, really, really high, and then one being like, I'll date anybody.
So you know what BMS is?
Remind me.
Broke my scale. Mine would be BMS. Mine is like
Okay.
exponentially high. And I don't say that as like in a pretentious like, oh my god, high what is it called? High maintenance. It's more so I think when choosing your partner, you're choosing the legacy for your kids, you're choosing legacy for your family essentially. So it's like you should be choosing the best for yourself and what you want. So for me, because it says on a scale of 1 to 10, how high are your standards? My it would be just a 10 only because it's like it should be the best for what my standards are.
What about you?
Um, that gave me a new way to kind of like think about the word standard. So, uh, I guess when I think of a question like that, I think of like how I think of it a little differently. I can't really like put it in the words, but I think of it a little differently. But um, I would say mine are pretty high, so maybe like 7 or 8 or something,
Okay.
somewhere in between like 7 to 10. Um, I don't want to make my standards too high to the point where I close people off, but also I want my standards to be high, so it's like, I can still get go someone good,
Okay.
so.
I guess, and I don't have this as a part of my thing here on the prompts that I asked, but do you guys think body count matters?
Oh man, this question. Okay. Uh, yes,
Okay, yes.
but
Why?
why? Okay. So body count matters mainly because like you want someone, there's a whole thing where it's like the more body count you have, the more likely you are to cheat. Now, me personally, I get the thing with that. I think some people over obsess with it. So body count kind of matters to me. I know we all have mess ups in our lives. We all sinners. I've definitely done some stuff I'm not proud of. Not like, you know, had sex out of marriage, but I've done stuff I'm not proud of, and I think we've all done that. I think we have to have a little empathy there. Some guys definitely over obsessed with it, and I think part of that's just because they watch things like Fresh and Fit in the whatever podcast, and I used to be that guy. I almost was there, and in that thing, it's not fun. And not to say the people that host those podcasts are necessarily bad people. I think Myron's probably a pretty decent guy. Um, and maybe the guy that runs the whatever podcast, who I can't remember the name of right now, he seems like an okay guy. But it's like they get into this thing where it's like I over obsess on these specific qualities, and I just don't think that's healthy. Now, when it comes to body count, that's one of them. Like I said, it's more it is statistically like true that you're more likely to cheat with a higher body count if you have a higher body count, and that goes for men and women. So, um, I don't get a lot of the arguments, because, like I said, I'm not a guy who cares too much about it, but um. I think the arguments that people give are like if STDs is one thing, but also it's like you're giving yourself to another guy. You're giving yourself to another guy, and I want someone who's a virgin because then I can only have him. That seems kind of selfish. I get it, but I think also it's not practical a lot in today's society either to get that. If you're gonna be very lucky to find someone like that, in my opinion. But those are kind of my thoughts on that question. So.
What about you? So for me, I think it's different for both men and women. But
Mm,
my in general statement, like, because as you said, like statistically, like if you have a higher body count, they're more likely to cheat, right? So I say that even if that's like statistically backed up, which I have no doubt that is, I still think it's like depends on the person, change of heart, like who they meet, right? So I think as long as you can become grounded on core values again, like I think then that negates the body count and that you could still
mm,
have a very healthy relationship. So that's just regarding that the statistics. But my general opinion, like, does it matter? For me, no. And I say this as more so like men, because I know like I've had relationships and I've had three boyfriends, and two of the three like had previous partners and then they've had bodies. And some of them were not with the partner. But for me, it's like, okay. And I do know that neurologically it is a little bit different for men and women. I think for men to have higher body counts, unfortunately, like, right, it's the norm, but also I think that there's a different chemical that it's the way it affects men is a little bit more disassociative versus women. Because
mm.
if a woman has a high body count, it can be a little bit more damaging to our neurological.
Yep.
Again, it's like that's why for me personally as a woman, if my man has a high body count, as long as we get our fundamentals straight and we can talk about it, I think it's fine. So that's why for me my answer is like no, nor it doesn't really,
Mm.
not a big thing if he has a high body count.
Jenny, is it okay if I like add a couple things onto that real
Yeah,
quick?
sure.
Just like a couple side notes.
Okay.
Yeah, it is more damaging to women. I forget what the chemical is, but there is a chemical that when you have sex, it makes the woman like, and it happens with men too, but it's not, it's like the chemical is way more in women. I really forget the name of it right now, so I'm
I
so
think it's
sorry.
dopamine.
But
Or is
I
it
don't think it's dopamine. It's a different
is it
one.
oxytocin? The
Yes,
hormone?
that one. Yes, that one. That's the one. Yes.
Lexi
So
tip. It's my
yeah,
favorite hormone.
Okay.
yeah. So like I said, pretty sure it's that one, and it connects the guy and the girl like emotionally, and it's that's especially more for the girl. So that's why when someone breaks up or in hookup culture, has sex just with someone, that's why a woman will get way more attached to the guy and make it very clingy. So that's one thing I wanted to bring up. The other thing I wanted to bring up was in my personal opinion, I think you brought up a good point, Nina, where it was like as long as we're on the same page and they're willing to like change and stuff, that's good. I think the overall thing is if they want to turn to Jesus, because I'm Christian, so if they go to Jesus and they believe in him and repent and everything, I think that shows a willingness to change a lot. So there is a certain point where I like may be very iffy. Like, for example, if they were like in the porn industry, I might be a little iffy wanting to date them, but but even if they turn to Jesus, there is a point, but like let's say they're not Christian, they had, a little bit of fun in college or something. And it's not a huge deal, but as long as they turn to Jesus, I'd be fine with it, if they turn Christian. And if they repent for their sins. That's basically what it comes down to for me.
Okay. Yeah, the reason why I asked is because when my fiance and I were first talking about dating and stuff like that, I know he said that he wanted a girl with a body count of 10 or less. Let's just say I barely made the cut.
With her current.
I barely made it.
Oh, look at them.
Did it freeze again? No, yeah, it
Oh,
kind of
no.
did.
It froze a little bit,
Yeah, it's
but you're good now.
deadpanning. Like,
Did you hear what I said? I'm not sure if you heard me.
Not the first part.
Okay,
No.
I said that. Well, so when him and I were first talking, he said that he wanted a body count of like out of a girl, it'd be 10 or less. Let's just say I barely made the cut.
Dang. Okay.
Okay, moving on. Let's see. So another story post that I put was like, besides opposing political values, what are some deal breakers?
Ooh.
Do you want to go first, Nina, or want me to go
Yeah,
first?
I'm gonna go first.
All right.
So, okay, my deal breakers are being um no yelling at me unless it's a valid reason. Emergency, whatever. Common sense, what would be a valid reason, but no yelling out of especially out of anger. Um, Deal breaker, I was gonna say cussing while angry, but like sometimes it slips. I've let it, not me personally, but like I've allowed it to happen. It's just not a good pattern. And so I'm very sensitive to that. If someone's cussing and yelling at me, that combination's a deal breaker. Cussing and yelling, let alone just yelling. Um,
You said 50-50 men here? What does
Oh,
that
and
mean?
50-50 men are my deal breaker.
What does
Like
that mean?
if we're on a date and he wants to split, I'll be like, I'd be
Oh,
like, oh my God,
Um,
like I'm so sorry. I thought this was a date. I didn't know we were just hanging out, like for sure. Cause I'm already like side note, when I go out, I always assume that I'm paying for my half, like always. Unless it's like clear that like someone's paying for something or whatever. And also I'm one where like if I invite you out, then I always assume I'm paying for both of us. And so for a man to especially ask me out and then expect to pay half and half, then it's like, okay, so we're just friends. It's like
hmm.
first date for sure you have to pay, like for the girl. Um, but in general, 50-50 men. Nor.
okay. And what about
Yeah.
you?
Um, so yeah, let me think. I would say there isn't much. I It's probably like more the like anger side of like, they're very like what I kind of said in the, emotionally immature, what I said in one of the previous prompts. It's like, yelling at me, not communicating. That's another thing. Usually you can get that down at least after a couple of dates if they're not communicating. Um, if they're not straightforward about stuff, that's my personal thing. I know a lot of girls like to like give hints and stuff like that. I'm not a big hints guy, so and I think there's a decent amount of guys who don't like that, but I like someone who's pretty straightforward about stuff. Now, that's something That's something you can work on. So that's not necessarily a deal breaker, but it's mainly the emotional maturity of the person. I don't want someone who's like super fake or stuff like that. And you can usually gauge that on the first couple dates at least. So,
Okay. And then we got a couple here. Someone said when he doesn't know how to change a tire is a deal breaker.
Damn.
Another one is if he isn't honest, does crack, plays video games,
oh man, oh man.
not
Uh,
committed, not a hard worker, not trying to find middle ground in anything. Doesn't love God is another one. Oh, you put a long time ago clubbing and similar parties while dating. Only exception is if you and your girlfriend go together.
yeah. So I've been really thinking about that actually. So, uh, yeah, I think I still kind of stand with that most of the time, unless like she's with like guys who I trust like incredibly, like lifelong friends or just really good friends. Also, if it has to, I don't know, this is like really rare, but like I know a guy who does a consulting thing. He has to go to like these clubs and stuff like that with his clients. Like sometimes they're even strip clubs. It's like I don't know how he deals that with his girlfriend right now, but he's had to do that before, but he has to do it for job stuff.
I
But
mean, if it's for a job and he's already talked to his girlfriend about it and
yeah, yeah.
she's fine with it, okay. But if they're doing other things besides unwork related activities, maybe it's not a good idea.
Yeah, no, I think what he's saying is that he has to go to these environments. Now, I know him, he has definitely the maturity to not be tempted by stuff, but kind of in a rough area there where it's like, what do I do? I have to do this, you know.
If you can keep her professional, you can keep her professional. Anyway,
Yeah.
moving on. Laziness is a big one. Being
Mm.
careless, cheating, not talking for a while. If they vape or smoke, if they're vegan or vegetarian, if they're addicted to drugs, they don't want to drive, they don't want to have kids, and if they're vegan and not believing that Jesus is Almighty God.
Mm. Okay.
And then
Vegan's funny.
yeah, the vegan one is funny.
Actually, honestly, that probably would be a deal breaker because, like, boy, how are we staying healthy? How are you gonna cook me my steaks on my period? Like,
exactly.
I mean, he might still cook that for me, but also it'd be sad if I'm eating this fat ass steak,
yeah,
and
but
he's
then
eating like this vegan steak.
yeah, but then you have those vegans that are like, I will not touch meat, even if I'm not eating it. I will not like physically touch it because apparently it's sinful for them, or they're gonna die off the face of the earth if that happens. But I don't know you. Well, I don't know, especially with the women, like if they don't like me, I'm sorry, but how are you like especially if they're liberal, how are you guys hooking up? Like you literally have a piece of meat inside your vagina. Like how
Oh
is
my God.
so you're breaking the vegan code as we speak, but yeah, anyway.
So that is a deal breaker.
That's
Veganism.
wild.
Anyway, and then so today I put up a more prompts, and then I put down what is a green flag or flags we look for in a partner. We discussed this earlier. I just want to go over some of this. Compatible moral values, same faith, same beliefs, only dating to marry. Has a stable job, considerate, respectful, supportive, being loyal, honest, great personality. I don't know if I want to. I don't want to. I'm going to skip that one. Not being an unhinged person and being rational, shared values, financial ideals, ideals on family stuff.
Hmm.
The last one I'm not going to read. It's a little anti-Semitic.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, this one I kind of want to discuss because I've been. I feel like when it comes to like discussing dating culture with like the group of people I've been around, I feel like my takes are not taken seriously. And it's because of this prompt right here. Religion has to be at the center of the relationship, or else it'll fail and it'll end up in divorce. What do you think?
You want me to go first?
Yeah. You can go.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was so this is no disrespect to your ideals, right?
Yeah.
This is me projecting because I'm a faith woman of God. So I do agree with that statement. More so just I will say for myself and for like people who are like other believers. So I do think that there's a distinction between non-faith relationships and faith. So I would say like David and I are of faith relationships. So we believe that God should be center. Now, I don't think it is necessarily fair to put that projection onto people who are not of faith. Um, for one, I think that's all. Well, one, it's offensive, but two, they have their own ideals, right? So for me, for us who are of faith, I would say that yes, if we are not rooted in a Christ-centered relationship, then it'll fail.
Okay.
So that's what I would say.
And David?
So, let me just bring up an example, kind of go on with the point I'll make. JD Vance and his wife's Hindu. Uh, Now, I don't know what their marriage is behind the scenes, obviously, but it's still going. So my point is, I don't think it will fail, but I think according to the Bible and just practically, I think it's good to have God and the same God at the center of your relationship.
Okay.
Um, because also on a side thing is that your girlfriend or boyfriend can become an idol. So you gotta like have God at the center of the relationship. And if God's not the center of that relationship, I think if you make your girlfriend or boyfriend an idol and you want them because age is also gonna be a thing, you may not be as attracted to them, because you're gonna age and obviously not look as attractive as you age. Um, I think if you make them an idol, then yes, it will fail. But if you don't make them an idol and are kind of like, just like, oh, I'm just, kind of just going to church every once in a while, I don't know necessarily fail, but it just makes it harder.
Okay. Yeah, the only reason
Yeah.
why I asked is because I have a thing.
Oof.
I have like a, it's a pet peeve where it's like, look, there's nothing wrong with wanting God at the center of your relationship. I think that's fine. It just shows that you want to grow to be a more selfless individual and more
Mhm.
giving to others. The thing that I don't like is when people kind of treat it as like a hierarchy in a way where they,
Mm.
not to call people out, because I've had this discussion with a certain someone a couple times, but it's the fact that I don't want to be told that like my relationship with my fiance is going to fail just because him and I are not like that religious. Like I will
Mm.
say for those people that don't know, we're not atheist, but
Mhm.
I'm Buddhist, kind of. I don't actively go to temple and whatever, but I do practice the yearly tradition of like the tomb sweeping day where we all gather together as a family, bring flowers, bow 3 times. And with my fiance, he was kind of raised in a Catholic kind of environment, but they never went to church.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
he's a little agnostic. I'm Buddhist. It works for us because we're not super religious.
Yeah.
I kind of believe in like kind of I call it the 4 pillars
Mm.
of a relationship. It's constant communication, stability, honesty, loyalty, and hard work.
Mm.
Mhm.
Because I feel like those should be the 4 common pillars for anybody that can follow because you can't exactly say that God has to be the center of a relationship to a couple of atheists. They're gonna not take you seriously.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a
And
comment on
yes,
this. Before I move on, I will want to change the vernacular because, yeah, I think even for faith based, it won't necessarily fail. I like what you said. It'll make it harder, like struggle, but it won't necessarily crumble and fail.
Mhm.
Just make it harder.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's very I think it's just very black and white to say that, oh, it will fail if this. I think there's a lot of nuance to this stuff because relationships are human emotion.
Right.
So, and emotion, it's not logical, obviously. So there are less areas for it to be black and white. You know.
okay. And then I think I put on my story also red flags. I know we also discussed red flags too. Let's just see what other people have said. Different beliefs, insecurity, disrespect, insecure. Yeah, that's mostly coming from the women. Actually, one guy and one girl said this. One guy said having an OnlyFans. Another guy said any pronouns in their bio, avoid them like the plague. Another guy said rainbow hair, misaligned values, atheist, other stuff, I guess.
I'm gonna get rainbow hair now.
You want to get rainbow?
You want to get rainbow hair now? Oh boy, Nina. You're gonna be what is it? Damaging your hair quite significantly if you do
Right.
that.
But new change.
Yeah. Okay, and then the last thing I kind of want to talk about is whoops. There's a dating standard women have that I refer to as the devil's playbook. And if you don't know, devil numbers are 666. So there's a thing where girls want their not their women, their men 6 feet tall, make six figures, have a six pack or a 6 inch dick. What do we think? Is that realistic? Nina, go first.
I will not say it's realistic, but it's idealistic.
Mhm.
So I think I'm gonna speak on my personal things. Like all of my exes, like yeah, they've been tall. They happen to have been like 6 foot or near
Everybody's
that.
taller than you.
I'm 5'2", for instance. So for me, I'm gonna be projecting as a 5'2" girl. Okay, so like tall, yes, it would be nice. Like I think anyone taller than me, like even 5'5", like tall king, cool. So 6 feet, doesn't need to be 6 feet. Six what? What's the other one? Six figures.
Six figures.
Six figures. I think that like income is important. It just also shows like his ambition and his willing to provide. Necessarily, does it have to be six figures necessarily? No, you just have to provide. That's it. And it sounds as simple. It's not as simple as that. I know that, but also just so it's like ambition, right? So I think that one's important. What's the other one?
Six pack or 6 inch dick.
I will from the bat say the more explicit one, the 6 inches there. For me, I don't even know. I don't need to go into detail, but doesn't matter. And I'm just speaking this personally. But the wait,
Six pack, like
oh, six pack.
abs.
That would be more. Never had a guy with a six pack, so like I'm just saying that's idealistic. It just means you care about your physical health. But again, dad bods are superior, so I'll say that. But there's been dad bods who have like a flabby little six pack. We're like, oh, okay. But like, so dad bods or six packs, we're running with that because you're healthy.
Hmm.
So it's all about health.
Okay.
You're either healthy or on steroids. It's one of it.
Yeah. That's one way to put it. Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
my personal 5'2" perception.
Okay. What about you? What do you think of the 666 rule?
So yeah, I brought this up earlier. I was waiting for this question. So yeah, this is also a reference to the TikTok where it's like I want a finance guy blonde 6 feet or something. It's something similar to that, right? So well, okay, start off with the what was it? 6 feet. I'm like 5'7". I
Oh, you're
actually
the same height as me.
Oh, crazy. Okay. I'm like, yeah, I think I'm 5'7". I haven't measured myself in a while. I'm pretty sure I'm 5'7". But basically, so I'm gonna be like Nina, I'm gonna be projecting from a 5'7" perspective. I think, yeah, girls can put a little bit too much emphasis on height. And don't worry, I get it like biologically and it makes sense. I'm not disregarding that. I just think you can make it very idealistic where like I want a 6 foot guy. It's one thing if you're like a 4 foot girl, it's like that kind of makes sense. I knew someone who's like like four something, like 4'8" maybe. I forget off the top of my head, but she like, okay, I can completely understand why you want a tall guy. Like, but if you're like 5'5" and you want like you literally want like 1% of the population, like a 6'3" guy, yeah, good luck. So I I get it, but it can be it's like one of those things. It can be very, you can idolize it and make it to where it's not realistic. In terms of the 6 figures, same exact thing. I think there's a lot of guys who are good guys that will do blue collar work and they're not going to make 6 figures. Nina brought up a good point. It's ambition. Some guys are going to go into the corporate field and make 6 figures. I know a guy who I think makes 6 figures right now and he's right out of college. He's a finance guy because of course, it's always the finance guys. They're going to make that. I mean, it's pretty easy to make 6 figures in that. It's literally money. So,
Like a business for a college degree, guys.
yeah. But there are also guys that okay, one of my friends, childhood friends, her name's Magdalena, and she got married recently to a guy named Thane. And Thane is like one of the coolest guys I have met, and I don't even know him that well. Like I'm childhood friends with Magda, but Thane's incredibly cool. And he does plumbing. He makes a decent amount, but he works like but he is like he's like a blue collar guy. He's like insanely cool. And it's like he has ambition and he's just I think he doesn't make six figures from what I know, but it's like it's not I don't think it's a huge deal. You have ambition, you're able to provide, I think that's a big thing. Now on the providing thing, I will say like it's practical for both people to have jobs. I think because in today's society, housing market is shit. And that's a whole nother topic that I don't know much about, but it is shit. The housing market is garbage.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's good to have both people working. And if your preference is for the guy to make more, I get that. It's not a huge deal. But also, I think you should contribute as well, unless the guy's just able to contribute, like all the way. Um, it, like everything else, you can make it an idol, make it unrealistic. I'm just gonna keep reiterating that because that's a lot of things, that's stuff people do nowadays. Now, okay, man. In terms of six pack, I do not have a six pack. So I mean, I have abs. I don't have a six pack though, and that's like, I don't think that's a huge deal. I'm not gay, so I don't know. Like, I don't know how do I answer that?
Okay.
No, how do I answer that? 6 inch dick since six pack? Like I don't think that applies to me. So
I mean, for me, it's like as long as they, okay, look, in terms of downstairs, as long as they know how to use it.
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know if I should talk about that though.
It's
If
up to
that's
you.
a
We're on the
okay, yeah.
unfiltered. You can be as unfiltered as you'd like. If you don't have, you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, if you're not comfortable with it.
Well, fair enough. I guess yeah, I've heard things where it's like as long as it like you know how to use it, it's fine. But I'm not a girl, so obviously I'm not thinking about this stuff. So,
Ocean of the ocean.
oh my God.
Okay, let's not get too graphic here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're gonna have to bleep out a ton of stuff,
No, it's okay. I don't bleep out any swear words. I don't do anything like that. It's pretty much unfiltered as it gets.
Well, that is the name of this, right? So
Yeah, I mean, I've said the F word. I've called people retards. So, yeah.
maybe I'm taking this a little too professionally then.
Little bit. Very casual. I'm literally all up on her. Like,
Yeah, she's literally been braiding and playing with my hair for like
it's
the
very
past half
casual. It's
hour.
a very casual podcast.
Oh.
Yeah, I gotta ask. So I know you said there's some fake women in Texas. Like how fake are they? Is it like California fake, or is it just like on a different like standard?
So, um, I think for me, it's very rare. Just maybe that's just because I'm in like good communities most of the time. But not saying that y'all are in bad communities or like, I think it's like it really depends where you are and who you run into.
The Bay
In
Area.
Texas, you're probably gonna find them in the city. It's always the city. You
Yeah.
just find these people. Um, but I've tried to stay in good communities, Christian communities. I live in like, Plano, that's pretty conservative,
Oh,
and
Plano. Okay, I've heard of that area. I think
yeah,
I
yeah.
passed through.
Plano also has a lot of like people that are immigrants. So like you'll actually like get a lot of Asian immigrants, and usually Asian immigrants are pretty real about stuff. So because they're conservative and traditional, kind of the same type of thing there. I don't know, but I've run into a lot of people. However, I will say this, when you get to the whitewash people, they're usually fake. So yeah, I will say that.
Oops.
What I'm trying to get at is that there's if that came off a little weird, is that there's certain qualities that kind of go hand in hand. So it's like if you're conservative, like, and you come from a more traditional background, your parents are gonna want you to be like, yeah, be upfront, do these things, and um there's certain qualities that go hand in hand, and that's why I also say when it comes to the people like the uh to some of the people that I'll just say it. Some Indians that get whitewashed, they might be a little fake.
Open up.
So not saying being whitewashed is bad, just like, don't be fake. Yeah, I just think it tends to end up going that way. I know people like I know like Asians that were like, more whitewashed, but they were at least respectful and they weren't assholes, they weren't fake. They're nice. So uh you know, it really comes down to the circles you're in. So, um,
She's just pointing at me. And I'm just
She
like,
has
excuse me.
wow.
she has completely Chinese parents. Do you know Chinese culture? ish.
It's-
She's
I'm more white.
He's
I'm
more white. She's a coke. No, you're a she's a banana. Yellow on the outside, white on the inside.
Oh
I'm
my
a
God.
very I'm pure banana. No, well, my fiance likes to say Twinkie,
Oh my.
Whoa,
which is super white.
twink.
I don't think we're gonna go that far with the twink.
Oh my God.
Like, look, I have a cowboy hat and boot. I have like three cowboy hats and then
And
boots
her
and
favorite music genre is country.
yeah, I'm like as white as you can get. I don't, and then I guess a little side topic just to like talk, just to talk. I don't understand what the big deal is. Like at least every like Californian that I've talked to, they think like country music is like the plague, like it's gonna ruin their life if they listen to it. I don't know what it is, but I've had one girl say she wanted to reject country music as a genre, and then a former like friend that I had would always say like what's the big deal with her and listening to country music? Like I don't understand it. Like what's the point of it? Like nobody listens to it and stuff like that. And then
Who's nobody?
well, he thinks you listen to country music by chance. Like you're in Texas.
Yeah, I listen to some. I don't listen to too much, so I got this might be a little embarrassing, but I went to the Houston rodeo recently with friends because I was going there for a wedding. So we went the day before for the rodeo, and who and I'm already forgetting his name. There was a guy performing there who I can't remember the name of, but he's a country guy. Um, can you give me 1 second?
Yeah. Let me see.
Let me find his name because I feel like he's very popular apparently,
Wait, who
and I
at
am
the
forgetting Cody Jinks.
Cody who?
Jane.
Jinks.
Cody Jenks. Okay, I've heard of the guy. I think he's kind of underrated. I've heard the name
Okay.
once. He has that like I don't know, like there were times where it's like I go through my Instagram stories and I get like previews of like either new artists that have like released songs or like up and coming or if they're on tour. I think I that's where I recognize that name from.
Okay. Yeah, but he's like a country like rock. Like not country rock. It's more country. I guess some rock, but I don't know. I added a couple of his songs, but I felt there's that, but I've also listened to more country music recently, mainly because I've started to like get out of my comfort zone and goes in, like dancing with some people, some friends.
There you go, line dancing.
And yeah, well, okay, line dancing, I haven't taken the time to learn any line dances, but I two-step a little bit. So,
Okay.
um,
Line dancing's fun. I'll
yeah,
tell you that. I will tell everybody
I
that line
should do.
dancing is like the only dance where you can screw up something, nobody will care.
Mm-hmm.
That's the beauty
Okay.
of it. Like line dancing. I go sometimes. I'm trying to go more often because I mean it's fun.
We're going next Friday.
Yeah, we're going next Friday. There's a place in downtown San Jose where they're holding it, and I know the person that actually like holds the events, like I've kind of become friends with her now.
Yay.
So that's great. And
Nice.
but anyway,
Yeah.
I want to thank the both of you for taking the time and doing this podcast episode with me. Hopefully the dating culture gets a little bit better. To close out this episode, you guys want to give any advice to anybody who might be struggling a little in the dating department?
Ooh, let me go first.
Okay.
Okay, so don't know the quote on hand, but basically it's about how like stop chasing flowers. You are the flower yourself. So you need to be like you are the garden. So if you work on your garden, you will naturally attract butterflies. So just fundamentally find out who you are, work on yourself because you are the garden. You're the gardener of yourself, and you'll attract. So that'd be my advice.
All right. I actually have two pieces of advice. One for the guys and one for the girls. For the guys, don't become this just don't become a misogynist. Like just don't do it. Yeah, I know dating culture can seem very like bad, right? It is pretty bad right now, but it's like don't like be disheartened and become, mad at women in general about it. You gotta look at yourself, you gotta look at the men. Men are not very good nowadays. And even if that is because women have participated in this, everyone's bad to some extent. Everyone has stuff that, you know, they're not proud of. Just be empathetic, and don't be a dick. And I think that's the main thing. For the women, uh, I think I'll say this is that go ask out that guy and don't give hints. Like just be straightforward. Okay. And like I said, that might just be me. Some guys are into like, the whole game and hints, but I think a lot of guys would appreciate if you just go ask them out. You can be friendly with them, maybe be friends with them first, just ask them out. Us guys have to do it. It's not a huge deal if you do it. If the guy's a dick about it, he's a dick about it. If the girl was a dick about it, she's a dick about it. Like in terms like if I asked her out. So that's just how it is. Um, but that's my main thing with that. So
Okay. Well, that's very, very good advice. I hope whoever is watching this will follow it.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. Please give a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I do have an Instagram for the podcast. It is the Unfiltered Tea Podcast, and my personal Instagram handle is Barry Jenny if you want to go and follow my individual page. And let's see, we are streaming on rss.com, I believe, still. I know we're also on Spotify and now on YouTube. So we'll see y'all next time for when we spill more of the unfiltered tea.